What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Epic 7 video. Today, let's go ahead and check out the ELVIRA preview. It's finally out. A little bit of a delay from Smilegate. And of course, we already did see the early leak, the early data mine of her skill set. So not a true first impression, but I still want to check out the backstory, the animations, and talk a little bit more in depth with ELVIRA with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. Thank you so much for tuning in.
You look like you're dying to know more about me.
Okay.
That's
I always say it, but the voice sounds great.
I don't like
See the animations. They're almost like a fighting game kick. Okay, that looks great.
This'll be
I'm definitely a fan of the animations.
ELVIRA used to be a shadow elf, and she was a skilled member of the
Vampire Slayer Shadow Elf.
She was recognized for her exceptional talent as a
Yeah,
slayer,
look at those
but was
slick
horribly
moves.
injured while chasing the Beast of Anguish. As her condition deteriorated, she lost the remarkable abilities that once
She took an
defined
arrow
her
to the
among
knee.
Slayers. Former comrades and fellow slayers who once respected her eventually cast her out of the group.
That's messed up. And run
When
animation looks
lost
good though.
one day, ELVIRA sought out Cain. Coming to
Ooh.
him with her broken body,
Our boy Kane.
ELVIRA gave up her life as a shadow elf and was reborn as a vampire. Since then, ELVIRA has served Cain alongside.
And there's Abigail. All right, interesting backstory. Looks wise, great. Animation wise, great.
ELVIRA is a 5-star ice elemental.
And we will take it over from here, right, guys? So Ice Thief Capricorn, imprint releases attack, self imprint is effect resist, which is very important. Stat wise, or just in general, ELVIRA, guys, if you've been living under a rock and did not see the data mine, the early skill leak, quick spoiler, she's not your typical thief. She has one main purpose. I'm sure people build her different ways, but you'll see her main purpose here in just a minute. Let's jump to the first skill. Skill 2 for ELVIRA is called Blood Mana. Increases effect resist by 30%. Then we have some more skill enhancements to increase that to 50%. And when attacking, cannot trigger a critical hit. When the caster is immortal, decreases the amount of fighting spirit gained by the enemy by 100%. So similar to units like Solitaria, which counteracts focus, we now have ELVIRA, which will, stop fighting spirit. They have units like Bellion that can stop souls. So we kind of have every unit now that will stop certain amounts of resource, and ELVIRA being the main one against fighting spirit, I believe the only one really, at least to this extent. You have units that can remove resource in general, but ELVIRA is the first unit that will combat fighting spirit directly, and it's 100% when she is immortal. So we'll see the rest of her kit on how to get immortality. But after using basic skill on the caster's turn, when the caster's immortal, activates Exterminate, right? An additional attack, which is an AoE and can only be activated once every 2 turns. That's also going to apply Beguile. Same debuff that I think it's Lua. Every time, a unit on the enemy team or whoever has Beguile passes their turn, at the end, they'll deal 10% of their maximum health to all allies. So it does add up, especially if you landed on all 4 units, right? It's going to rotate around and just do a pretty a decent amount of damage here. So this is skill 2, very powerful. This is kind of her kit identity. She will be used to, combat fighting spirit, mainly units like Abyssal Fiend. There's going to be a lot of other units, though, that, have fighting spirit that are going to get hurt by this in arena, especially real-time arena. You're going to see a lot of ELVIRAs pop up as a countermeasure to fight fighting spirit units. So those of you that do take PvP seriously, I think for this part of her kit alone, it is definitely worth picking her up, right? No matter else what she does, I think this is the first toolkit kind of unit that we have to combat fighting spirit. Okay. Sorry, guys, remember again, combat fighting spirit directly. There are other units that reduce resource, but this is the main one. Okay, let's move on here to the next skill. What do we got? Oh, actually, let's watch the animation real fast for the Exterminate, especially. Right here.
Exterminate.
All right, so special animation. Ooh, we do like a little X-Men, X-Cross, cross-cut, Beguile, right? Didn't land on Luluka, probably has a lot of effect resist, but here you can see the Beguile landing on these 3, and that is the debuff she'll provide, AoE attack. But if you notice too, guys, the damage is very insignificant, as I think, depending on how we want to build her, it's more important to maintain that immortality, and so most players, I imagine, are going to have her on non-existent damage. She'll be more utility for the anti-fighting spirit and to stack debuffs, etc. Okay, skill 3, Capturing Sacrifice. Attacks the enemy, dispelling all buffs before making them unhealable for 2 turns, and grants immortality to the caster for 3 turns. So we have 3 turns here, guys, on a 4-turn after skill enhancement cooldown or skill. So we really only have 1 turn of downtime, meaning for 3 turns after she casts this, we have to wait 1 off turn, and then we can go back into Immortality. And that's important, 1, because Immortality is super strong. We'll keep our Elvira alive. And then 2, that is how we need to maintain that Immortality in order to stop units like Abyssal Fiend from getting their Fighting Spirit, right? As we saw in the skill 2 passive. So with that being said, you can now see why she has so much effect resist and like her self imprint on her base stats. We're going to want to make sure we have enough effect resist to stop, we don't want it easy for opponent to just strip our Immortality, because then your entire game plan is out the window and they can start getting Fighting Spirit again. You have Elvira, who's going to be pretty much useless if she's not doing her main part of her kit. Additionally, though, on the Capturing Sacrifice, we penetrate the target's defense. Let's see how much damage it does. When the target is a hero, damage dealt increases proportional to the target's current health. Imagine this works like Zeo's skill 3, but let's go ahead and see it here in the animation. We can use this as a little test here. Look at her just kicking Abyssal Fiend. Okay, so we target her, kick her in the air. Should do some decent damage. 2370, but she did have a barrier, I think, and I don't know if that strips before, but yeah, we got the strip and healable, and I guess an okay amount of damage. But yeah, if you notice in the showcase too, they are countering Abyssal Fiend. This is probably the problem unit. We've had so many units need to fight it, and now we just have a direct anti-Fighting Spirit. So while we're in Immortality, she can no longer get this Fighting Spirit. She did get a little bit before that from just getting hit, but now we have this activated. And so she should not be able to get any more Fighting Spirit if it's working correctly. Elvira skill 1, Hit and Run. Swiftly attacks enemy, has a 100% chance after skill enhancement to dispel 1 buff. We can soul burn that to get an extra turn. And here we can do some shenanigans, right? 20 souls, dispel, and then we can cycle back if we want. A lot of times, though, I think you may want to just hold off and try to maintain that Immortality depending on what you're fighting, etc. But yeah, be careful with extra turns here. Because remember, we always have that 1 off turn. Unless we want to take that extra turn in a row and get that right back into the skill 3. But yeah, I like this overall. Let's see the animation. I'm sure it looks great. Look at that pose where she's just holding up that, ready for that big kick. Okay, so damage, insignificant, right? Most builds will probably be insignificant. I think that did 200 damage, but we get a strip. And yeah. All right, so as y'all can tell, not a typical thief. Doesn't build like giga damage. I think we're going to want to have a lot of effect resist. But let's check out this artifact real quick. Speaking of effect resist, we can stack even more here. And I think there might be some other artifact selections, but I think this one works pretty well. She does get that effect resist, which we'll probably definitely need. And on top of that, after using an attack, except for a basic skill, when a non-critical hit is made, removes 20 souls from the enemy. So even more utility on her kit. And if we do play like an Elvira style, you're going to see here in the showcase, removing souls is good when you are playing a slower comp. We can deny our opponent from getting those powerful soul burn turns. And I think this just adds more, part of her kit instead of just being a full anti-Fighting Spirit unit. All right, let's go ahead and check this, or let's leave this. Oh, hold on, guys. Of course, I almost forgot. I want to see the lobby animation real quick, just to, add the final look. And Elvira looking great. We got some bats flying around. She's kind of looking at them. Starting January 11th. Let's one almost landed. Then a little, was that a little laugh? Okay. She looks great, guys. Sprite, running animation, skill animations, idle animation. Very, very good unit. Epic 7 R team almost always knocks it out of the park, so I'm not surprised. In terms of her kit, I think she's going to be a must pull just in general if you play PvP seriously, especially RTA. Just having these kind of units. She's not going to be a proactive pick, but once your opponent slams a unit like Abyssal Fiend, anything with Fighting Spirit, if you build her appropriately and she works how she's supposed to work, then I think your opponent's either going to have to ban that or they're going to have a nullified unit as shown here in the showcase, right? That Abyssal Fiend will not be getting any more Fighting Spirit now that the left side Elvira has the Immortality active. Other than that, though, if you look at the team they're wanting to show us here, it's a 0 damage team, literally. We have the newly buffed Biblis. She still doesn't do, like, if you can see here, she's not built on damage. She's more for the debuffs, the healing from the counters, anti-counter mechanisms. The Solitaria, I guess, is to shut down the Ocean Breeze Lulica. So we have the anti-focus, we have the anti-Fighting Spirit. And if you can see here from Elvira herself, she doesn't do much damage either. So the top 3 units, Biblis, Elvira, and the Solitaria, they're not really known for damage. So we're literally whittling down our opponent. I wouldn't advise this unless you got a ton of free time, but this does look pretty impressive. And then, you know, Crow will eventually finish them off, especially because our opponent is going to have so much AoE here between the Landy, the salvos right on the screen, and then the Abyssal Fiend skill 1 AoEs. So I think, yeah, for Arena, Guild Wars, RTA, Elvira, if she works appropriately, which I imagine she will, if you build her with enough effect resist, so you know, shrug off almost all the strips besides the 300 effectiveness, besides the soul burn to guarantee, you know, strip anything, ignore effect resist. I think she's going to be a tough unit to play against when you do want to play some fighting spirit units. Either you're going to have to must ban her, you're going to have to try to strip or kill her, which is going to be very difficult, or you're just going to have to be okay with your fighting spirit unit, you know, getting their entire resource gain mechanics just cut out. So I kind of like it. I say only kind of because these sort of units are not fun to fight against, but I do think in the state of the game, it is necessary. We had Solitary already to fight Focus. Now we have the Elvira to fight the Fighting Spirit. All right. I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.